Hello and welcome to Little Fishes this morning. Thank you for joining us, and I wonder whether you have joined us from the church service where we've just played a game together or come straight to the video. Well, I thought it would be fun to play the game again so that everybody gets a chance to join in, however you've come to this video this morning. So what I'd love to invite you to do is to copy Ben and Maya by getting down onto the ground and sitting down, crunch down onto the ground. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to count to 20 in my head, and I want you to wait like these two, and in your own time jump up when you think that I have got to 20. When you think you've waited long enough, then I want you to jump up. Do you think you can do that? Come on then, everybody crouch down onto the ground. I'm going to start counting now. How did you do? Are you still sitting on the ground waiting, or have you jumped up yet? I wonder how good you were at being patient while you waited for me to count to 20. Well, Ben wasn't very good at waiting and he jumped up a little bit early. And Maya, well, she was very good at being patient actually, and she jumped up around the right time. I wonder how you were waiting patiently for me to count. Well, today we are looking at patience. Sometimes it can be difficult to wait, can't it? Some of you may have found that a bit difficult, to sit silently and wait. Oh, it's quite hard. Sometimes we have to wait for birthdays or wait to see our friends again. Some of us might be going back to school or nursery next week, and we're very excited because we've waited a long time to see our teachers and friends again. I'm going to tell you a story now about somebody who was very good at being patient, somebody who waited a very long time, and God rewarded him. And during this story, I'm going to give you an opportunity to grow in patience as well. I'd love you to look inside the bags that were delivered to you if you're locally. Or if you're not local, maybe you could quickly run into the kitchen and ask your parents if you can borrow or have something that is really rather yummy. But you need not just one, but two of those really rather yummy things. Now, if you are local, you will have a marshmallow. What I'd love to invite you to do is to put a plate in front of you and to put the marshmallow in front of you like that, like I've just done. There we go. Now, if you listen to the whole story without eating your marshmallow, at the end of the story, you can get a second marshmallow. But if you eat the marshmallow during the story, you get to enjoy the marshmallow. You don't get a second one. Let's see how well you can do at being patient while you listen to my story. Why don't you find somewhere comfortable so you can sit comfortably while I read? And this story is called The Promise, and it's from the Lion's First Bible. Are you sitting comfortably? Let's begin then, shall we? The stars twinkled in the velvet black night, a billion trillion stars. Abraham stood outside his tent and began to count. 1, 2, 3. Oh, have I counted that one already? Better begin again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, but soon he gave up. God was right. There were too many stars to count. God had a special plan for Abraham. You must leave your home, God said, and go to a new land. If you trust me and do as I tell you, I will give you a family so big that they will be like the stars, too many to count, I promise. A family means children, and Abraham had no children, but he trusted God and did as God had told him. So Abraham sold his house in the city of Ur. Abraham and his wife Sarah and their nephew Lot packed up for the journey. They took tents with them to sleep in. Every day they had to find fresh grassy places for their sheep and their goats, their cows and their donkeys and their camels. It was a long, hard journey, but at last they came to the new land. If you trust me and do as I tell you, I will give this whole land to your family, God said. Abraham still had no children, but he trusted God and did as God told him. There were lots more sheep now, and goats, and cows, and camels. It was hard to find grass for them all. That green valley looks good, said Lot, his nephew, one day. Will you go there then, said kind Uncle Abraham, and I'll move up to the hills. There wasn't much grass there for all of his animals. God loved Abraham all the more for being kind for Lot. Remember, you have my promise, God said. But still no children, Abraham answered sadly. They had hoped and hoped, but Abraham was growing old and Sarah's hair was grey. Surely it was too late now to have children. Next time God had something to tell them, he sent 3 men to their tent. Sarah baked fresh bread and cooked the visitors a special meal. Before a year has gone by, you and Sarah will have a baby boy, the men told Abraham. Sarah heard, and she laughed to herself. I'm far too old, she said, and so is Abraham. No, said the men, you will have a baby. God said so. And before a year had gone by, the baby came. God always keeps his promises. Sarah cuddled the baby, and he chuckled and laughed. Sarah laughed too. She just couldn't help it. She was so happy. Abraham tickled the baby's toes, and he laughed too. He just couldn't help it. He was so happy. They called their baby Isaac. Isn't that a lovely story? A story of Abraham, a man of God who waited patiently for God's promise to come true, and God rewarded him for his patience. I wonder how patient you've been with your marshmallows. Have you waited? If you have, give yourself a round of applause, and now your parents can give you your second marshmallow as a reward for being so patient. Well done. Well, Abraham was 75 at the beginning of that story when he started waiting, but he was over 100 by the time that Isaac was born. I wonder if you can work out how many years he had to wait. What was that? 25, you're right. Over 25 years he had to wait for God's promise to come true. Had to be very patient to wait that amount of time, didn't he? Do you know that is more than 5 times some of your lifetime, some of you that are listening to this today? And it's nearly half my lifetime. Could you imagine if I was waiting to see my friends for half my lifetime? That would be really, really hard. You'd have to be very patient, wouldn't you? We're waiting for things as well. But it helps to put that a little bit into perspective, doesn't it? It helps us really realise that although we've been waiting for ages to see our friends, although we've been waiting for our birthday to arrive, or we've been waiting to get back to school, actually, our wait hasn't been that long. and God will reward us soon. Waiting is something, patience is something that grows in our life, and we have to give it opportunities to grow, a bit like the marshmallow test gave us that opportunity earlier. I wonder what other ideas we can come up, what other opportunities we can come up with that will help us to grow patience in our life. Why don't you just press pause on the video now and see if you can come up with some ideas, some activities you can do to help you grow patience. Well, did you come up with some? I hope so. If not, don't worry, because I've got some ideas for you now. One of my ideas is that you could go into the garden and you could find some snails in your garden. Draw a little chalk square on the floor or a little circle and put your snails in the middle of that circle and wait patiently to see which snail crosses the line the first, and have a snail race. Another thing you can do is to use some of the other bits that I have put in your bag. Now, you need to get a flower pot and some dirt. And if you put the dirt, can you see that? Put the dirt into the flower pot. We can grow something, can't we? I wonder what we could grow. Well, in the envelopes you've got, you will find a sunflower seed. Now, if you think you're really good at patience, you can try growing the sunflower seed. You need to just stick your finger into the middle and make a hole, pop the seed into it and then just cover it up slightly, and then give it a little bit of water and pop that on your windowsill. If you think, I haven't got that much patience yet and I need to start with baby steps, then you can try with the tiny, tiny seeds that are in the envelope, and you can try growing some cress. Now you can either use cotton wool, or I've just put some tissue paper into the bags. You screw the tissue paper up and make it wet, and then you can pop that into a glass and just sprinkle the teeny tiny seeds onto that. And you'll only have to wait a day or two, well, a couple of days, to see the cress begin to grow. My words are getting a little bit muddled up, aren't they? Sorry about that. So there are 3 activities you can do to help you grow patience in your life. And I hope that you have fun doing those. Now that's all we've had time for this morning. But if you want to see a rather cool video about some puppets, not these 2, but some other puppets doing a funky rap about patience, then we've put a link to a YouTube clip next to this video, and you can click on that next and sing along with them. It really is quite fun. Maybe you could play it while you do your growing, or maybe you could just watch it and then take your growing into the garden and do it in the garden later. Well, whatever you choose to do, that's all we've got time for this morning. And Ben and Maya and me would like to say goodbye, and we will see you next time at the Little Fishers video. Bye.